Hey y'all. So again, I know it's been a while. I was gonna do another Faces of Loki. This has been a while. I kind of owe you. Um, it's a little noisy here in shared living space now, so maybe a little space to sit outside. I will be shuffling around a little because I'm sitting on the ground and I'm old and my hips hurt. Okay, so let's get started. Um, Today we are going to talk about Faces of Loki, aspects of the Bound One and World Breaker. You know, to some that may seem like two polar opposites. But again, it's Loki, and things aren't always what they seem with him, right? So, yes, the Bound One is bound. He is a combination of the Scarlet, which we have talked about, and literally the Bound One in the chains after the feast, bound to the rock and suffer. But then World Breaker is when he breaks out finally, breaks the chains, and off to Ragnarok with them. So these two, though they seem like opposites, actually go together. We can't have the one without the other. I mean, we could, but that binding kind of amplifies the energy being pushed when we get to Ragnarok because of the emotions involved. So, how do we want to start this? Again, I'm kind of winging it because I'm having to do this around other people's schedules. And it just came to me to do it today. So, with the bound one, what we have here is literally he is bound in chains. Now, this is what happened after the feast, after he done pissed everybody off, spewing all their little truths that they didn't want anyone to know about, and or that they pretend they didn't even do. And he was bound. He wasn't just bound, they took his children, turned one into a wolf, and it ate his brother. And they killed off the wolf, and they used the entrails of Loki's own children to bind him to the rock. And they held him down, and they set up this thing for the venomous snake venom to pour down on him while he is bound underneath the pouring venom. All of this, for speaking, is true. All of this, um, yeah, people want to try to claim it's Balder, but they specifically say in that poem that is not what they did it for. They literally said, if you don't hush, we're gonna do this thing. They didn't say anything. The only thing they said about Balder was, oh, well, it's your fault he's not here. Which again, Rosetta tells us they just assumed it was him, that he was the reason, that he was the one who was the hack who wouldn't cry for him in disguise. It assumed, they assumed, as always. And that is the word he used. They assumed it was him. So, moving forward, in Locus 7, yes, they mentioned Balder that one brief moment. I'm mad at you because it's your fault my son is not here. End of story. It was Scotty that kept saying, if you keep running your mouth, we're going to bind you. And he did, so they did. So that's one thing. And that is why the mountain is so important. Not to me, and again, this is UPG based on what I've read. The thing was, he was bound for speaking his truth, speaking up for himself, pointing out others' wrongs that were being ignored that were, in fact, hurting people. That the key is we have even now the powers that be do not like us pointing out when they do wrong. That's nature. That's human nature. And yes, the gods in the lore do act very human-like when it comes to those things. He is bound. But the thing that is important about that is whatever reason he is there, he doesn't just give in. He doesn't just quit because he's stuck. He does not ever actually give up. So he really, you know, to go back to the beginning of it, Loki had watched all these things go wrong. He had watched them assume that he was the cause of a problem, whether he was or not. He went and fixed things that were not his fault. Yes, he fixed things that were his the once or twice it happened, but for the most part, any problem that went wrong, they went to Loki because they knew he was cunning. Not because he was a bad guy, because they knew he was cunning and he could do it. And he would fix these problems. He would fix things in whatever way he could. Sometimes he had to be sneaky to do it because, hey, bad guys are sneaky. We got to be sneaky to get what we need. You've got to outsmart your opponent. That is true in any game you play, especially one that involves people's lives at stake. That's why he was sent, because he does think outside the box. So he did all these things for them. And he watched all these bad things being done and ignored while he was, punished or assumed to be the wrongdoer. Um, and really, even in Locusena, the one thing they point out over and over, other than the one mentioned in Balder, they just kept saying over and over and over that, he gave birth like a woman, and that was his terrible thing. That was all they mentioned over and over through the whole piece. That one thing. And Loki spewed everything they had done. Odin, Odin did just sit quiet because Loki caught him on what he did wrong. He said, "Yep, you're right," and tried to fix it. Because Odin, yes, Odin had broken his oath that he made to Loki. Ooh, Odin broke an oath. What do you know? And Loki called him on it. So Odin, not wanting to break an oath any further, goes, "You're right. Let him sit down." Because his oath had been he would not drink or eat from a table where Loki was not allowed. But when Loki called him on it, he realized he was right and he let him sit down. The others, not so much. And that's where we get the idea that Loki's a liar, was because when he's telling all his truth, and Freya's like, "Loki, you're a liar." Literally, everyone does that when you call them out on something they did wrong. They will try to convince people that you're lying. That is normal. And the thing that he said was done, we know from the lore was done. So he wasn't lying. The other tales backed it up. So he called him out on it. And yes, he was drunk. He should have went in there a little sober mindedly. Probably could have got a little bit better results had he not gone in drunk and just spewing everything. But they were all drunk. They were all feasting and eating and drinking. That's what they were doing. Um, and we know that sometimes, it does. It loosens the tongue. And he was bound. And the thing with the binding, he got bound for pointing out. He got bound for whatever reason you want to claim. Balder telling truth, whatever. Again, I'm saying what the lore said. Now they said, you keep running your mouth, we're going to bind you to a rock under a venomous snake. And he was like, okay, do it. And kept on. And they used entrails of his own children to do it. So it wasn't just a punishment, it was beyond punishment. Because they killed his children to punish him with. So he saw his children murdered. He was bound with their guts, their destroyed bodies. We'd all, we've seen the tales. He got to witness Thor running around killing his kind, the Jotun, just because they were Jotun. He got to see the temper, or Odin, sorry, Thor was well known for mashing heads when he got angry, to the point that Jotun did not want to be around if he was home. That's why they had to make the agreement with the wall builder while Thor was out, again, hunting trolls. So he watched all that happen. He watched and knew how Odin, who says himself, yes, don't say he never did, because he said it in the Habit Mall, Odin would lie to get what he needed. The ends, justify the means from the standpoint of Odin. So don't say he didn't lie. You can say he had a reason if you want, but don't say he didn't. He flat out says he did. He flat out said he made oaths he did not intend to keep. He even said at one point when he gave the oath ring and trying to get the mead, he knew he wasn't going to do it. And then he sat waiting for the Jotun to show up because he knew he broke an oath to him. He knew it was wrong when he did it. He just thought that the ends justified the means. So Loki saw that happen. We know they were all having affairs on each other constantly. The thing he said about Freya was the fact that she had slept around with so many people. The lore tells us she did. So she's the one that lied when she said Loki was lying. Now, the reason is important. There are times in our life when we have things going on around us that we see and we witness that are wrong. And we've been taught in this society to keep our mouth shut, to be civil, especially when it comes to matters of equality, bigotry, hatred, the white supremacists, anti-LGBTQ. We've got people discriminating against minorities. Some of them doing it in the name of our gods, supposedly. And we sit quiet. And we've been told, be civil. Don't be as bad as them. What did our gods do? Our gods got mad at somebody and literally killed his children and tied him up with their bodies. Our gods would literally go and kill an opponent who was doing wrong, even if it wasn't a deadly thing they were doing. And we think we're supposed to be civil when people are literally talking about wiping out other people and minorities, when there's hate and even violence. Once they go beyond what is civil, we can't sit and be civil. Turn the other cheek is not our teaching. And that's one thing we learned from this bound one, is that yes, he was bound and punished for speaking. Again, UPG. I'm been told I need to put that reminder in more. It's all over my website. So he was bound after saying all these terrible things. And in our lives, we fear punishment we may get if we stand up to someone doing wrong, whether it be hatred and bigotry, which we definitely need to stand up to, especially those of us who are paying and Loki. So people are literally being hurt and wiped out. Fuck that. Yeah. All right. This is me. But when Loki was bound, he did not just lay down and take it. First of all, once they were all mad at him at the end of the feast, he took off and he hid. And when he realized that they were coming for him and he saw they were on their way, he didn't just sit there and wait for him and let him take it. He turned himself into a salmon and started swimming upstream, as salmon do, to get away. And it took Thor, they had to take these, they made nets and caught him, and Thor gripped him so tight that, according to the tale, that is why salmons have slender tails. So he didn't just sit and take it. Yes, he ran for the moment. When he was finally caught, he still wiggled around. That's how the salmon got the tiny tail. But then when he was caught and they take him in, and he's bound in the chains made from his children's entrails with the venom spewing down on his face. And he's still shaking, trying to get out. He is shaking those chains. He is rattling the chains. He is shaking and writhing. Yes, he's writhing in pain. The Lord tells us the earthquake. Sorry, I'm scratching those freaking mosquitoes out here. The Lord tells us that the earthquakes are from where, when the venom drips on his face, when Sigyn has to go dump the venom from the bowl, he is unprotected for a moment. The venom hits and he shakes so hard that it shakes the ground. That's why there are earthquakes. But he's still trying to get free the whole time. And we know at Ragnarok he does. That is when Worldbreaker steps in. So for us, we have to keep rattling those chains, and it's hard. So many of us fear what people may think of us, what people may do to us if we speak up, we speak our truth, we speak against them when they are wrong. And yeah, it can be bigotry and hatred and discrimination. It can be an abusive partner. It can be a boss or CEO that treats you like shit. It can be a landlord. And I think that's why the Bound One and Worldbreaker were calling for me personally right now to address them, because that is a thing that I have fallen into quite a bit, and I do it, fall into it, because I've seen so many others just constantly talking about how we can't rock the boat and we have to turn the other cheek and we have to be polite and don't be as bad as them, be the bigger person. And what happens when you do that is nothing changes. The things get worse. The things you're going through, the things they are doing wrong, they will continue to do wrong. Many will do worse because they know you will let them get away with it. Well, that's how I got here. I'm doing wrong. I don't want to rock the boat. I keep my freaking mouth shut. I threatened to tell. I threatened to report people. I threatened to move on and get away and do the things because they're wrong. And then I don't. And then they get what they wanted. And a lot of it's been that way. You know, as someone who is a survivor of domestic abuse, I did that with my ex-husband for a long time. I would say I'm going to leave. I may walk away. Why don't I go back? like he's going to magically change. When really all I was doing was showing him more and more. Each time I come back, that's proof to him that he can get away with more the next time. And he does not have to change. Every time we go back to a situation like that, where you're showing them they don't have to change. And they won't, because you've shown them they don't have to. They won't get any punishment for it. And in the same instance, when you have bosses, CEOs, managers who are doing things wrong, who are not treating their workers fairly, then there is literally nothing wrong with either quitting the job, which only results in them doing it to others. I'm sorry, mosquitoes are killing me. I'm gonna put my shirt on. Or we either leave and not say anything, or we can report them because legally they're not supposed to stop us or hinder us or reporting. Yes, you have to be careful because the laws tend to favor the people with the money. This is especially here in America, anyway. All hail the mighty dollar. But if they get reports enough, then eventually they'll have to make a change. Because think of it as the movie, like in the movie Ants. What did the grasshopper say? If it's just one, yeah, well, that one will show others they can do it. And then there'll be a whole army of them standing up to us, and we can't have that. So we have to learn to change that way of thinking and to actually fight back. And the bound one is fighting back. He's not out yet as the bound one, but he is still shaking those chains. He is making the fucking earth shake because he's not going to shut up. He's already lost his children, his loved ones, everything and everyone. That's Higgins and they're holding the ball for him. There's still some debate on that and why, but that's not what this is about. But he's lost pretty much everything, including his own children. And he's still fighting because it's the right thing to do. Because bad people continue to be bad if we don't speak up, if we don't fight back. Even if we speak, if all we do is speak and then shut up the second they get mad at us, they're going to keep doing it. And that is a lesson from the Bible. Sometimes the thing you're doing wrong is just sitting and taking it. Sometimes the wrong thing is being good and quiet. And we need to shake those chains in our lives, whatever they may be, or whoever they may be, whatever the case. No God, including the Christian one, wants you to sit there and shut up and take it. They do not teach that. None of them do. No. And so with Loki shaking, and we know that eventually the chains do break. He is free, and he heads off to Ragnarok and moves away. And that is the world breaker. And a lot of people in the human community, in the Locayan community, we don't necessarily talk about the world breaker a lot. Or if we do, it's in, a small snippet. And it's, for some, they literally, like, just don't know or accept or work with or deal with that side of him, never had to. For those people, Good for them. I hope they never have to deal with it. But that is part of how we grow. But the world breaker we don't talk about, even when we do deal with him so much in our personal lives anyway. Like I'll talk about him, but for the most part, we don't talk about it. Not because he's not there and he's not an integral part of who Loki is and what he does for us, but it's because when the world breaker comes in our personal lives, it is very deeply personal. It is it is world breaking. It is shattering. It is something that we need to do. And, we just don't want to share that online with the entire world, right? Understandable. But the thing with the world breaker is now risen up from the chain and he has more scars. The scarred lip is now the whole scarred face and torso from the venom, dripping and burning like acid, melted away. Oh man, I hope those of you who are visually receiving messages never have to see that face. Um, Although it is quite shaky and can still help. Um, but so now instead of scarred lip, it's an entire scarred face, body, everything. But he still gets up and he goes into Ragnarok. And we know Ragnarok is a reset. So, so many people on so many sides of the conversation have discussed that um, with or without mention of Loki. Um, we know it's a reset. One thing we don't often focus on is it's not just a general reset, as in cycles. It is, you know, to some degree, a lot of it really is. We are looking at a story not only change and cycles in nature, so to speak, but changing powers. This is a this is a destroying of an entire way of life, destroying an entire kingdom and world, and literally overthrowing the powers that made it the way it is. We know that at Ragnarok, they all die. Everyone talks about at Ragnarok, they all fight, even though they know the prophecy, they're all going to die, but they still stand and fight because that's the right thing to do. We don't realize Loki does that too. Loki's leading a whole army. Helheim has theirs. Surgeon has his. You've literally got multiple worlds going to fight, knowing they're going to die because they believe it's right. And in the end, we know, if you really look at it, they were right. Because after it's all said and done, Balder, Thor's son, and the people that were, the single people that were in him, but these younger gods come out and decide that they are going to rule better this time. They are going to make it happier and better and greener and brighter. Just like in human life. A new power, a new leader cannot take over and make a change for the better until the old one has been gone or taken out or changed. And that's what Ragnarok is. Loki, as the world breaker, helps lead the way. Loki, as world breaker, is the one who comes in our personal lives, especially when there is something we are needing to change. that we are not changing. Or there's something that just needs to change in our life around us. And we've just thrown up our hands and said, I don't know what to do. And he'll come wipe it out, even if it's not fun. Gosh, those mosquitoes are awful. I'm sorry. They're biting like through my clothes. It's stupid. But anyway, I don't like them. But Loki as the world breaker, he's the one that comes in. You know, if you're sitting in a situation that you know it's wrong and it's eating at you and you're watching it happen and you're not saying anything, Loki's the one that's going to come in as world breaker and shut it down, tear it away, destroy it, burn it down without search. Good old stepdaddy. Um, Godfather. And he will come in and he will tear away all of these things. And it does hurt and it does burn and we lose so much. But he allows the hurt because it's like they say about, you know, universe, God, whatever. If it doesn't hurt, you don't go and fix it. If you don't lose things, you don't know they were bad. World Breaker will allow you to be miserable. As the bound one, you sit in the misery, but you keep trying to find a way. Once you start shaking those chains, speaking up, rock the boat if needed, then the World Breaker comes in and he will help finish removing those things. But you gotta let him do it. And it hurts like a motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie. It's not easy. God, it hurts. I'm hurting right now. But as much as it hurts, you're finally away from the people who are buying you. You're finally away from the people that were hurting you. You know? Again, we talk about jobs. We talk about our own personal lives when we're not doing things we need to do because it's uncomfortable. Loki's going to shake it up. We talked about that. We talked about, you know, again, the abusive things when we don't walk away from them or we walk away and go back. Okay, he's gonna shake it up again. And the question is, which world do you want him to destroy? Because he's gonna shake it up one way or another if something needs change. So which world do you want him to shake up? Do you want him to shake up the things that are hurting you so that they're not hurting you? Or do you want him to shake up your own self and sit in your own misery because you won't get away from those things? It is up to you. But the world breaker will come in eventually if we sit still long enough. It will break the chain for us. And we have to decide, do we want to go sit in the rubble and just hope it gets better? Or do we want to reset? Do we want to make more positive things from what the world breaker brought down? You know, people talk about the tarot and the tower card and how the castle falls down, but we take the bricks and rebuild a new tower. A lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people want to sit there in the rubble and go, yeah, this is my castle. It looks like shit. It fell down 10, 20 years ago. But it's still got a solid foundation. There's just no shelter, and the storms destroy me. That's Loki to me. Because it's going to get shaken up, whether we like it or not. And the question is he going to shake you up to make you move? Or is he going to shake up the world around you? And sometimes both. You know, I'm sitting here and lost everything. Okay. Be a little personal here. I lost everything. I'm sitting here, shared living in what essentially is a halfway house. While sober for 6 years. Because I kept my mouth shut when someone else kept pushing, kept breaking the law, kept doing all these things, and I kept my mouth shut. And you never got in trouble. I know this involved, never got in trouble. So now I nowhere else to go, and everything is gone. Everything's been taken because I kept my damn mouth shut and I didn't rock the boat and I didn't shake the chains. And now Loki's shaking them, and I'm growing in the process. There are plans now. Wheels are turning slowly but surely. It is a slow process, unfortunately, for many of us. This is an example. Like I said, I will get personal and give an example. I don't want to talk to you, not, you know, give examples of my own. I don't teach people things that I myself am not willing to do, unfortunately. Not unfortunate, just there's a lot of people who do that, and I would probably make more money if I pretended to be happy go lucky rainbow parts all the time. That's the truth of the matter. But I'm not. I'm okay in chaos. Sometimes it's all we have to make shit work. And the world breaker fights and continues to fight. And here's the biggest thing with the world breaker, just like Odin and those in Asgard are going to fight knowing they are going to die. Loki does the same thing. He knows that when the battle's over, they're all gonna die. They're all dead. But he's still doing it because that is the right thing to do, because that is what is needed. And it sucks. And it hurts. And it's painful. And the whole world literally burns down. But he does it because it can't get better until the stuff that is bad, negative, abusive, cruel, hateful, etc., whatever the case may be in your personal situation when he appears, until that is broken down. I'm going to sit on my knees because my hips hurt. I'm old. Whatever that is in your life, whatever situation or scenario is, you know, he'll get you free, he'll get you out. You go back, and now he's got to shake it up again because you didn't learn. And the point is, once you learn that it is okay to shake those chains, it's okay to rock the boat, it's okay to speak up for yourself or for others if that's the situation, then the world breaker comes in. And yes, it's going to hurt, he's going to burn it down, but he's going to burn down the side that's doing it to you, not necessarily you. You will be left, like in Ragnarok, with stuff all around, burnt, and it's got to be rebuilt. But you're climbing out from under that tree where the people were hidden for safety. You are coming out of hell as Balder to rebuild. But the whole thing had to go and be burnt down to the ground in order for you to have something to build on, to build with. And that is the world. That is the world breaker that comes from the bound one. And so as a whole, the lesson of those two. Bound one never stops shaking and trying to get free. He does not just lay down and give in. And the world breaker destroys the things that are hurting you and keeps fighting even though it's going to hurt. Because that's the only way to get through and get better and get the new kingdom. And that is Loki. That is the key factor in Loki. As I've said a million times, chaos is not for the sake of chaos. You edge towards it. I hate it. And he's not just fun and games, right? And trickster are not the same thing. For those of you who only get that side, good for you. I'm happy for you, and I hope you don't have to ever have a life that causes anything else. But at the same time, I do hope you get to grow and learn, which usually involves the other aspects coming in. Because we don't learn anything if we are happy all the time. And we don't rebuild. We want to rebuild a new house on a spot that already has a house on it, right? You got to tear down that house if you want to build a new one. It is the same thing. That is what the world breaker does. Yes, there's got to be destruction. There's got to be shit flipped upside down. There's got to be people and things left behind. And then you rebuild something that is better. And you can't do that if you let that world continue to be okay and a part of your world. You have to let the world breaker in, even if it hurts, even if there are people and things and places that you love that will be removed from you or you remove from in order to make the better. You still have to let it be. Because at the end of the day, what's the use in having a whole world that doesn't make you happy when you can tear it down and restart with something fresh? Rock the boat, break the chains, tear it down, and rebuild. That is the life cycle of Loki. That's all I've got for today. As usual, hope I didn't go in circles too much. You know how I get. All right, you have a wonderful night. Hope you at least learned something. Don't forget, you can still reach me for readings, but they are going to be by email only for a while. So, hit me up. You reach me on Facebook. You can reach me at nicksreadings@minister.com. That is NIKKS. And I hope to hear from you soon. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.